Chronic fatigue has 7 specific medical causes, and most doctors are missing all of them. I'm going to share 7 medical causes of chronic fatigue with you today that most doctors completely overlook. If you've been told your fatigue is just stress, depression or aging, and you know something deeper is wrong, this video is for you. I've spent 15 years tracking down the actual causes of chronic fatigue in my patients. The results have transformed their lives. Most fatigue isn't mysterious. It has specific, identifiable, treatable causes, but finding those causes requires looking beyond the standard blood panel. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what to look for and exactly how to fix it. Let me ask you something. Do you wake up exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep? Does your energy crash in the afternoon no matter what you eat? Have you had every standard test run and been told everything is normal, but you know it's not? Have you been dismissed with, it's just stress, or it's part of getting older? What if I told you that your fatigue has a specific cause that's measurable and treatable? What if 7 common but frequently missed medical conditions are draining your energy daily? What if feeling genuinely alive and energetic again is possible once those causes are identified and addressed? I'm going to prove it to you, and I'm going to give you the exact testing and treatment protocol. Here's what frustrates me most in medicine. Someone comes in exhausted, not tired, exhausted, bone-deep fatigue that doesn't respond to sleep. They've seen their primary care doctor. Standard blood work was run, CBC, basic metabolic panel, maybe TSH. Everything came back normal. The doctor says it's probably stress, maybe depression. Take this antidepressant. Come back in 3 months. The patient tries the antidepressant, still exhausted, goes back. Maybe gets referred to a specialist. More tests, still normal. Eventually they're told, this is just how they feel now. It's aging. It's their new baseline. They need to accept it. This is a failure of medicine. Not because the doctors are bad people, because they're using an inadequate testing panel to evaluate a complex problem. Normal on standard blood work doesn't mean optimal, doesn't mean nothing is wrong. It means the crude screening tests didn't catch anything obvious. And here's what really concerns me. Chronic fatigue doesn't just feel terrible. It destroys quality of life across every dimension. You can't work effectively. You can't exercise. You can't be present with family. You avoid social situations. You stop doing things you love. Depression follows the fatigue, not the other way around. Your world shrinks around your exhaustion. Think about the next 5 years if the cause is never found. 5 more years of exhaustion, 5 more years of declining function, 5 more years of watching life pass by while you're too tired to participate. That's not acceptable. Let's find the cause, right now. The first and most commonly missed cause of chronic fatigue is subclinical hyperthyroidism, thyroid function that is suboptimal but not low enough to trigger standard treatment protocols. Here's what happens. Your thyroid gland produces hormones that regulate metabolism in every single cell of your body. When thyroid function is optimal, your cellular energy production is robust. You feel energetic, warm, mentally sharp. When thyroid function is suboptimal, every cell in your body slows down. You feel exhausted, cold, foggy, slow. Standard medical practice tests TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and considers anything within the normal range of 0.5 to 4.5 to be fine. But this range was established from population data that included people with undiagnosed thyroid disease. The actual optimal TSH for feeling well is under 2.5 for most people. Additionally, standard testing often misses the critical conversion problem. Your thyroid produces mostly T4, the inactive form. Your body must convert T4 to T3, the active form that actually enters cells and drives metabolism. Many people convert T4 to reverse T3 instead, a metabolically inactive form that actually blocks T3 receptors. Standard TSH testing misses this completely. Hashimoto's thyroiditis, an autoimmune attack on the thyroid, is the most common cause of hypothyroidism. It can be present for years before TSH becomes obviously abnormal. But thyroid antibodies are elevated long before that. Standard testing doesn't check antibodies unless TSH is abnormal. I had a patient, Diane, 54 years old, who had been exhausted for 4 years, multiple doctors, multiple normal blood panels. She was on 2 antidepressants that weren't helping. When she came to me, I ran a comprehensive thyroid panel. Her TSH was 3.8, within normal range, but her free T3 was at the bottom of the reference range. Her reverse T3 was elevated. Her TPO antibodies were 400, massively elevated, indicating Hashimoto's. We started low-dose T3 supplementation alongside her T4. We addressed her Hashimoto's with gluten elimination and selenium supplementation. Within 3 weeks, her energy began returning. Within 3 months, she described herself as feeling normal for the first time in 4 years. She was taken off both antidepressants within 6 months. Her fatigue had a specific, treatable cause the entire time. Your action step: request a comprehensive thyroid panel, not just TSH. Request these specific tests: TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, TPO antibodies, thyroglobulin antibodies. Optimal ranges: TSH under 2.5, free T3 in the upper half of the reference range, reverse T3 low, antibodies negative or minimally elevated. If your panel shows suboptimal results, work with a physician who understands optimal thyroid function, not just within range thyroid function. You may need T4 medication, T3 medication, or both. If antibodies are elevated, address Hashimoto's with gluten elimination, selenium 200 micrograms daily, and inflammation reduction. Thyroid optimization alone resolves chronic fatigue in a significant percentage of patients. It's the first thing to investigate. The second missed cause of chronic fatigue is iron deficiency without frank anemia. This is one of the most common and most consistently overlooked causes of exhaustion, particularly in women. Here's the distinction that most doctors miss. Standard practice tests hemoglobin and hematocrit to screen for anemia. If these are normal, iron is considered adequate, but you can be profoundly iron deficient, with severely depleted iron stores, while still having a normal hemoglobin. Your body protects hemoglobin at the expense of other iron-dependent functions. Iron is required for dozens of processes beyond red blood cell production. It's a cofactor for enzymes involved in cellular energy production. It's required for proper mitochondrial function. It's necessary for neurotransmitter synthesis, including dopamine and serotonin. When iron stores are depleted, all of these processes are impaired. You feel exhausted, foggy, and emotionally flat, even with a normal hemoglobin. The test that reveals true iron status is ferritin, your iron storage protein. Standard practice often doesn't check ferritin unless hemoglobin is low, but research clearly shows that ferritin levels below 30 nanograms per milliliter are associated with significant fatigue and cognitive impairment, regardless of hemoglobin. Optimal ferritin for feeling well is typically between 70 and 100 nanograms per milliliter. Many women, especially premenopausal women with heavy periods, have ferritin levels of 5 to 15. This is profoundly iron deficient even with normal hemoglobin, and this level of depletion causes severe, debilitating fatigue. I worked with a woman, Sarah, 48, whose fatigue was affecting every aspect of her life. She couldn't exercise. She could barely get through her workday. Standard blood work, including CBC, had been normal for years. When I checked her ferritin, it was 7, severely depleted. Her hemoglobin was normal at 13.2. Every doctor had missed the iron deficiency because they didn't check ferritin. We started iron supplementation, ferrous bisglycinate, 325 milligrams daily with vitamin C for absorption. We identified her heavy menstrual bleeding as the cause and addressed that as well. Within 3 weeks, she noticed improved energy. Within 2 months, her ferritin was 42 and her fatigue was 60% improved. Within 4 months, ferritin reached 80 and her energy was essentially normal. 4 years of exhaustion resolved by addressing the iron deficiency everyone had missed. Your action step: request ferritin testing specifically, not just CBC and hemoglobin. Request ferritin, serum iron, TIBC, transferrin saturation. This complete iron panel reveals the full picture of iron status. Optimal ferritin, 70 to 100 nanograms per milliliter for optimal energy. Below 30 is significantly deficient. Below 15 is severely deficient. If ferritin is low, supplement with ferrous bisglycinate, better absorbed and less constipating than ferrous sulfate. Take with vitamin C to enhance absorption. Take on an empty stomach if tolerated. Recheck ferritin every 8 weeks until optimal. Address the cause. Why are iron stores depleted? Heavy menstrual bleeding, inadequate dietary iron, poor absorption from gut issues. Identify and address the source. Iron optimization is a simple, inexpensive intervention that resolves fatigue in a substantial percentage of patients. Check your ferritin. The third frequently missed cause of chronic fatigue is undiagnosed sleep apnea. Sleep apnea affects an estimated 30% of adults over 50, but the majority are undiagnosed. They spend years exhausted without knowing why. Here's what sleep apnea does. During sleep, your airway repeatedly collapses. You stop breathing for 10 seconds to 2 minutes. Your oxygen level drops. Your brain rouses you just enough to resume breathing, not enough to wake you consciously. This can happen 5 to 50 times per hour, all night, every night. The result is that you never reach deep, restorative sleep. You may spend 8 or 9 hours in bed and wake more exhausted than when you went to sleep. Your body spent the night fighting for oxygen instead of resting and repairing. The daytime consequences are severe: profound fatigue, cognitive fog, poor concentration, memory problems, irritability, depression, and long-term sleep apnea causes hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, and dementia. because your body is in a state of chronic oxygen deprivation and stress response every single night. But many people with sleep apnea don't know they have it. Not everyone snores loudly. Not everyone has a bed partner who witnesses apnea events. Some people, particularly women, present with fatigue, headaches and mood disturbance without classic snoring. They get treated for depression and fatigue without ever being tested for sleep apnea. I had a patient, Gregory, 59, who had been exhausted for 3 years. He slept 9 hours nightly and still couldn't function. He didn't snore significantly. His wife hadn't noticed breathing pauses. His doctor had treated him for depression. But when I assessed him, his neck circumference was large, he had a small jaw, and he woke with headaches. Classic risk factors. We did a sleep study. He had severe sleep apnea, 53 apnea events per hour. His oxygen dropped to 68% repeatedly. He was started on CPAP. Within 1 week of CPAP use, he reported feeling more rested than he had in years. Within 1 month, his fatigue had dramatically resolved. His depression lifted. His cognitive function improved. Sleep apnea had been stealing his sleep quality for years. Your action step: get evaluated for sleep apnea if you have any of these risk factors. Risk factors: snoring, witnessed breathing pauses, waking with headaches, unrefreshing sleep despite adequate hours, large neck circumference over 17 inches in men, over 15 in women, obesity, small jaw or recessed chin, nasal congestion, frequent nighttime urination. Testing: ask your doctor for a sleep study, either in-lab polysomnography or home sleep apnea test. Home tests are convenient and accurate for most people. If diagnosed, CPAP is the gold standard treatment. It's highly effective and safe. Modern CPAP machines are quiet and comfortable. Most people report dramatic improvement within the first week of use. Sleep apnea is both common and treatable. If undiagnosed, it will exhaust you regardless of everything else you do for your health. The fourth cause of chronic fatigue is mitochondrial dysfunction, impaired cellular energy production. This is the root cause in many patients with fatigue that doesn't respond to standard interventions. Here's what's happening at the cellular level. Your mitochondria produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy currency that powers every biological process. When mitochondria are healthy and numerous, ATP production is robust. You have abundant energy for physical activity, cognitive function, and cellular repair. But mitochondria can become dysfunctional for multiple reasons. Chronic inflammation damages mitochondrial membranes. Nutrient deficiencies impair the enzymes of the electron transport chain. Chronic infections can directly damage mitochondria. Certain medications, particularly statins, impair coenzyme Q10, which is critical for mitochondrial function. Accumulated oxidative damage over decades reduces mitochondrial efficiency. When mitochondrial function is impaired, cells cannot produce adequate ATP. The result is profound, pervasive fatigue that affects every system. Muscles fatigue quickly. Cognitive function is impaired. Immune function is compromised. The entire body runs on insufficient energy. Mitochondrial dysfunction is particularly relevant in chronic fatigue syndrome, now called myalgic encephalomyelitis. Research has consistently shown that patients with this condition have measurable impairments in mitochondrial function, oxidative phosphorylation, and cellular energy metabolism. Several nutrients are absolutely critical for mitochondrial function and are commonly deficient in fatigued patients. Coenzyme Q10, which is depleted by statin medications. B vitamins, particularly B1, B2, B3 and B12, which are cofactors for mitochondrial enzymes. Magnesium, required for ATP synthesis. L-carnitine, which transports fatty acids into mitochondria for fuel. D-ribose, a sugar that directly replenishes ATP. I worked with a man, Stephen, 56, who had been on a statin for 5 years and had developed progressively worsening fatigue and muscle weakness. His CoQ10 level, rarely tested in standard practice, was severely depleted at 0.3 micromoles per litre. Normal is above 0.8. The statin had blocked CoQ10 synthesis. His mitochondria were starved of a critical cofactor. We started CoQ10 supplementation, ubiquinol form, 400 mg daily. We added B-complex magnesium and L-carnitine. Within 3 weeks, his energy began improving. Within 2 months, his fatigue had largely resolved. Within 3 months, his muscle weakness was gone. CoQ10 supplementation had restored his mitochondrial function. Your action step: assess and support mitochondrial function. Request testing. CoQ10 level if on a statin. B12 level. Magnesium RBC level, not serum, which is inaccurate. Organic acids test, available through functional medicine labs, which directly assesses mitochondrial function. Supplement mitochondrial cofactors. CoQ10 as ubiquinol 200 to 400 mg daily. B-complex high-quality supplements daily. Magnesium glycinate 400 mg daily. L-carnitine 1 to 2 grams daily. D-ribose 5 grams twice daily if fatigue is severe. Support mitochondrial biogenesis. High-intensity interval training. Cold exposure. Intermittent fasting. As discussed in the anti-aging video, these interventions grow new, healthy mitochondria. Within 4 to 6 weeks of mitochondrial support, energy production will begin improving. Within 3 months, fatigue from mitochondrial dysfunction should significantly resolve. The fifth cause of chronic fatigue is adrenal dysfunction, impaired production of cortisol and other adrenal hormones. This is one of the most controversial areas in medicine. Conventional doctors often deny its existence, while functional medicine practitioners see it constantly. Here's the mechanism. Your adrenal glands produce cortisol in response to stress. Cortisol provides energy, suppresses excessive inflammation, and helps you respond to challenges. In healthy individuals, cortisol follows a diurnal rhythm, high in the morning, declining through the day, lowest at night. But under chronic, prolonged stress, years of high-demand professional life, personal trauma, chronic illness, poor sleep, this cortisol rhythm can become dysregulated. The pattern varies. Some people have elevated cortisol morning and night, the wired but tired pattern. Others have low morning cortisol and struggle to get going. Others have a flat cortisol curve throughout the day, with neither peaks nor appropriate lows. These dysregulated cortisol patterns create fatigue in different ways. Low morning cortisol means insufficient energy mobilization upon waking. You feel terrible in the morning regardless of sleep. High evening cortisol prevents restorative sleep, perpetuating the cycle. Flat cortisol throughout the day provides neither the morning energy peak nor the evening wind down that healthy rhythm provides. Standard medicine measures a single morning serum cortisol. This single data point misses the entire rhythm. A normal morning cortisol doesn't mean your cortisol pattern is healthy throughout the day. 4-point salivary cortisol testing, measuring cortisol at waking, noon, evening, and bedtime, reveals the full pattern. I had a patient, Rebecca, 51, whose fatigue was worst in the morning. She couldn't function before 11 a.m. She had reasonable energy mid-afternoon, then crashed again by 7 p.m. When I ran 4-point salivary cortisol, the pattern was clear: extremely low morning cortisol, moderate afternoon, then inappropriate evening elevation, preventing sleep. We implemented a cortisol normalization protocol. Adaptogenic herbs: ashwagandha 800 mg morning, rhodiola 200 mg morning. Phosphatidylserine 100 mg evening to lower evening cortisol. Strict sleep schedule. Reduced life stressors where possible. Within 6 weeks, her morning cortisol normalized. Within 3 months, her energy pattern transformed. Awake and functional in the morning, sustained energy through the day, tired appropriately at night. Your action step: assess your cortisol pattern with 4-point salivary cortisol testing. Request from your doctor or order directly. Dutch test or 4-point salivary cortisol test. This measures cortisol at 4 times throughout the day and reveals your complete cortisol rhythm. If pattern is dysregulated, address with low morning cortisol, rhodiola 200 mg, and ashwagandha 400 mg upon waking, morning bright light exposure, moderate morning exercise, high evening cortisol, phosphatidylserine 100 mg evening, magnesium 400 mg evening, evening meditation, screen elimination after 8 p.m., flat or low overall, comprehensive stress reduction, sleep optimization, adaptogenic herbs morning and evening, address the chronic stressors driving adrenal dysregulation. Critical note: true Addison's disease, primary adrenal insufficiency, is a serious medical condition requiring emergency medical care. If you have severe fatigue with salt cravings, lightheadedness when standing, and darkening skin, seek immediate medical evaluation. The sixth cause of chronic fatigue is chronic low-grade infections that most standard testing misses. Certain pathogens can persist in the body, causing chronic immune activation, inflammation, and profound fatigue without causing obvious acute illness. The most clinically important chronic infections associated with fatigue include Epstein-Barr virus reactivation, cytomegalovirus, Lyme disease and its co-infections, H. pylori, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and chronic viral syndromes. Here's what happens. After acute infection, these pathogens aren't always completely eliminated. They persist in tissues at low levels. Your immune system maintains a chronic, low-grade activation, trying to suppress them. This chronic immune activation is metabolically expensive. It diverts energy from normal cellular processes. It produces inflammatory cytokines, particularly interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, that directly cause fatigue. The result is persistent exhaustion with no obvious cause. Epstein-Barr virus, the cause of mononucleosis, is an excellent example. Most adults have been infected. The virus persists in B lymphocytes indefinitely. In some people it reactivates and causes chronic immune stimulation. EBV reactivation is identifiable through specific antibody testing, VCA IgG, EAD IgG. But these aren't on standard fatigue panels. Lyme disease is particularly problematic. Standard Lyme testing misses a significant percentage of cases. The ELISA screening test has poor sensitivity. Many people with chronic Lyme symptoms have negative standard testing but positive results on more sensitive testing panels. I had a patient, Carol, 49, with severe fatigue following a viral illness 2 years prior. She'd never fully recovered. Standard testing was normal. When I ran a comprehensive infection panel, her EBV early antigen antibody was massively elevated, indicating active EBV reactivation. Her immune system was locked in a constant battle. We implemented an immune supportive protocol. High-dose vitamin D zinc 30 mg daily. Monolaurin, a natural antiviral compound. Immune-supporting herbs, including andrographis and olive leaf extract. We also addressed her gut health, which was severely disrupted. Within 2 months, her energy began improving. Within 4 months, she was functioning at nearly normal levels. The EBV reactivation had been the cause of 2 years of mysterious fatigue. Your action step: request comprehensive infection screening if standard testing has been normal. Testing to consider: EBV panel including VCA IgG, VCA IgM, EAD IgG, EBNA IgG, CMV IgG, and IgM. Comprehensive Lyme panel through specialty labs if exposure risk. H. pylori breath test or stool antigen. SIBO breath test if digestive symptoms present. If chronic infection identified, work with a physician experienced in chronic infection management. Treatment varies by pathogen. General immune support applies to all. Optimize vitamin D to 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. Zinc 30 mg daily. Reduce immune burden by addressing other stressors simultaneously. Gut health is critical. Gut dysbiosis perpetuates chronic immune activation. Address gut health aggressively, as discussed in previous videos. The seventh cause of chronic fatigue is neurotransmitter imbalances, particularly deficiencies in dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. These chemicals regulate energy, motivation, mood, and cognitive function. When they're deficient, fatigue and cognitive fog are the result. Here's the mechanism. Dopamine is your primary motivation and drive neurotransmitter. When dopamine is adequate, you feel motivated, energetic, and engaged. When it's low, you feel flat, unmotivated, and exhausted, even when you're not physically tired. This is called anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure or motivation. Norepinephrine provides mental energy, focus, and alertness. When it's deficient, you feel mentally foggy, unfocused, and mentally exhausted even when physically rested. Serotonin regulates mood, sleep quality, and energy. Low serotonin causes low mood, poor sleep quality, and fatigue. These neurotransmitters are made from amino acid precursors found in protein foods. Dopamine and norepinephrine are made from tyrosine and phenylalanine. Serotonin is made from tryptophan. The synthesis of these neurotransmitters requires specific cofactor nutrients: B6, B9, B12, zinc, magnesium, iron. Deficiencies in these precursors or cofactors, from poor diet, malabsorption, or high nutrient demand from chronic stress, reduce neurotransmitter synthesis. Additionally, chronic stress depletes dopamine and norepinephrine as they're consumed in the stress response. Neurotransmitter levels can be assessed through urinary organic acids testing or neurotransmitter urinary testing. These tests aren't perfect, but provide useful clinical information when interpreted alongside symptoms. I worked with a woman, Nancy, 52, whose fatigue was primarily characterized by complete lack of motivation and mental flatness. She described it as her get up and go had got up and gone. She wasn't sad, she was just empty, flat, unmotivated. Testing revealed severely depleted dopamine metabolites and low norepinephrine. We implemented a neurotransmitter precursor protocol. Tyrosine 1000 mg morning and noon, a precursor to dopamine and norepinephrine. B6 100 mg daily. Iron supplementation for cofactor support. We addressed her dietary protein intake, which was inadequate. Within 3 weeks, she noticed a return of motivation and mental energy she hadn't felt in years. Within 2 months, her fatigue had dramatically improved. Your action step: support neurotransmitter production through precursor and cofactor optimization. Dietary protein. Ensure adequate protein intake, at least 1 gram per kilogram body weight daily. Every neurotransmitter is made from amino acids in protein foods. Inadequate protein means inadequate neurotransmitter production. Targeted supplementation for dopamine support. L-tyrosine 500 to 1000 mg in the morning on an empty stomach. B6 50 to 100 mg daily. Zinc 30 mg daily. Iron if ferritin is low, as discussed in cause number 2, targeted supplementation for serotonin support, L-tryptophan, 500 mg at night, or 5-HTP, 100 mg at night, B6 and magnesium as cofactors. Exercise, the most powerful natural stimulator of dopamine, norepinephrine and serotonin production. 30 to 45 minutes of aerobic exercise daily is neurochemically transformative. Important note, if you're on SSRI or SNRI antidepressants, do not add 5-HTP or tryptophan without physician guidance. Risk of serotonin syndrome. Now let me tell you what happens when you systematically investigate and address all 7 causes over the next 6 months. Month 1, you request comprehensive testing, full thyroid panel, ferritin, sleep study referral, and expanded labs. You start mitochondrial cofactor supplementation. Within 2 to 4 weeks of addressing identified deficiencies, your energy begins returning. Month 2, your sleep apnea is diagnosed and treated if present. Your thyroid or iron deficiency is being addressed. Your mitochondrial function is improving. Your fatigue is decreasing week by week. Month 3, you've addressed adrenal dysfunction if identified. You've started infection investigation. Your cortisol rhythm is normalizing. Your energy has measurably improved. You're starting to feel like yourself again. Month 4, chronic infection treatment is underway if applicable. Neurotransmitter support is implemented. Multiple causes are being addressed simultaneously. Your fatigue is down 60 to 70% from baseline. Month 6, the primary causes of your fatigue have been identified and addressed. You have energy you haven't felt in years. You're exercising, you're engaged with life, you're present with family. The exhaustion that defined your existence is gone. This is what happens when we actually look for the causes instead of dismissing the symptoms. Fatigue has causes. Causes have solutions. Solutions restore life. I want you to imagine something with me. It's 3 years from now. You never got the right testing. You accepted everything is normal and it's just aging. You're still exhausted, still cancelling plans because you're too tired, still dragging yourself through days that used to be full. You've missed 3 years of your life to fatigue that had a cause, a treatable cause, that nobody found because nobody looked carefully enough. Now imagine the alternative. You watched this video, you got comprehensive testing. The cause, or causes, were found. You addressed them systematically. It's 3 years later and your energy is restored. You exercise, you engage fully with your family, you work at full capacity, you do the things you love, you're present for your life again. Which future do you want? The choice is entirely yours. I've given you 7 specific, testable, treatable causes of chronic fatigue. Most fatigue isn't mysterious. It has a cause. Finding that cause requires asking for better testing and finding a physician who will look beyond the standard panel. So here's what I want you to do right now. Make a list of the 7 causes. Which ones resonate with your symptoms? Which ones have never been tested? Then schedule an appointment with your doctor or find a functional medicine physician and bring this list. Say, I want to rule out these 7 causes of fatigue. I want these specific tests. You deserve a real answer, not dismissal, not it's just aging. A real specific answer that leads to a real solution. Your energy is out there. Go find where it went. If this video helped you, share it with someone who has been dismissed with everything is normal while suffering from chronic fatigue. They deserve better answers. And if you want more strategies like this, evidence-based medicine that finds real causes and real solutions, subscribe to this channel. I post new videos every week. You weren't born exhausted. Something is causing this. Now you know what to look for.